Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex. And today I want to talk about something that's pretty entertaining that doesn't always come around, and that's Battle World. Now, for the most part, Battle World comes and goes, and it's just kind of whatever. People play it for the rewards that you get, and generally it's just pick your strongest heroes, win most of the time, lose a couple times because you get unlucky to Jean Grey one-shotting, or Sharon Rogers one-shotting, or Quicksilver one-shotting, and just collect your whatever reward. And the rewards this week are kind of whatever. It's Dimension, ISO, or actually a much worse reward on the other side. But what I wanted to focus on was the fact that this week, for this particular bracket that I selected, because as you can see, the other bracket is about using Scourge and using combat types, which I don't want to talk about. But I do want to talk about the one at the bottom, using only Tier 1 characters. And this is a bit of a lost art for Netmarble. Way back in the day when the game had just debuted Battle World with the Secret Wars update, because they're kind of inextricably linked, or intrinsically linked. The Battle World often had something that said, you know, 3 stars and under, or 4 stars and under, 5 stars and under, 6 stars and under. Again, this was before Tier 2, but it was a very entertaining game mode, and it encouraged you to not build up your characters past that threshold so that you could be more competitive in Battle World. And of course, my rank in this Battle World is quite low because, as you guessed it, I do have most characters at Tier 2. I have all of the most powerful meta characters at Tier 2. And so it's interesting to see what's left, and it's especially fun in this game mode because native Tier 2s, of course, are not allowed at all. So you'll never run into Doctor Strange, never run into Quicksilver, and this is a breath of fresh air, and one that I didn't even know that I needed. But as soon as I heard about it when I was on my live stream a few days ago and I started trying to construct my team, I realized 2 things. It's actually really fun to fight with only Tier 1 characters, or at least Tier 1 versions of characters, and that's something I'll get into later in the video. And also, it's really interesting to see how I can try and make use of my limited Tier 1 roster. As you can see, this is all I have left, and I feel as though this combination of characters is probably my safest bet, knowing their obelisks, knowing how much I've built them up with Uru and ISO 8 sets and things like that. Some of these other characters may seem more powerful in the right hands or built properly. You know, I would probably pick Titania, for example, if I had max skill cooldown, but Battle World has a reduced cooldown because it doesn't take into consideration alliance bonuses, I believe, or card bonuses. Anyways, it doesn't. No one has 50% skill cooldown if you've been building your sets properly in Battle World. Another option, I guess, would probably be Malekith because of his extra damage to supervillains, but again, that only happens at Tier 2, so it's not really that useful at Tier 1. But I think I have a pretty solid roster. I've only lost a couple of matches, and I'll explain the strategy, and then I'll jump into some fights so you can see what's up. I chose to go with Wiccan and Songbird at the beginning because they both provide a lot of crowd control, and I've actually wiped out stronger teams with just the 2 of them at the very beginning. I have Lizard up next because he's just a very strong Tier 1 character, healing, iframes, and a self buff. And then I rounded out with Electra and Misty. Misty has that AoE cold damage, which is very strong. I've geared her offensively so I know that she can pump out a lot of damage, and she's got that stun effect with the 5th skill that we've covered in the Shadowland compilation or highlight video. And then I left it with Electra in case things get really bad and I can manually control her because she has lots of iframes and she can kind of dodge with those while trying to take down the last enemy, because that's usually my plan in Battle World. I'll let it autoplay, but then if I have to jump in at the end, I'm ready for the last character as they are. The last thing I want to mention, if you are still playing this Battle World and you want to get a good score, or if this Battle World comes up again and you want to know how to do better, of course you want to attack at the beginning. When the Battle World first opens, you want to attack as soon as possible. After the first wave of attacks, or the first day of attacks, you want to attack as late as possible to ensure that you're getting higher scored opponents and not necessarily the same opponents at the top, same as you. Specifically for this Tier 1 bracket, however, you want to avoid certain characters. Of course, the 2 webs at the beginning, it's interesting because this guy's trying to do the same thing I'm doing. He's trying to use crowd control at the beginning to make sure that he wipes me out. So I'm going to actually refresh the opponent, but I want to avoid people with paywall characters like Agent Venom, Spider-Man 2099, Enchantress. They are just insanely powerful in this game mode and likely to kind of one-shot me. I also want to avoid, if I can, guys like Spider-Man, but I think we're going to have to give this one a try. Crystal is also pretty scary. I actually don't like this one. I want to refresh it. This one's a little bit better. It's mostly combat type, so it favors me with my 2 blast characters in the beginning. And we'll see how this goes, and hopefully I can get lucky and pull out a victory here. I'm not going to be playing. I'm going to let it auto so you guys can just see what the characters would do given kind of natural environment and kind of interactions with each other. But we'll see if my strategy paid off. It sucks that you can't see the full fight that's going on at times if you're on different sides. I really wish they would zoom the camera out a little bit and take advantage of the fact that you have this giant arena, and they would show it off a little bit more, because I feel like the design of it is very nice. I also partially wanted to make this video, just as an aside, because I know I recently kind of came down about the CTP chest thing, and so I wanted to make something that kind of highlights something good they're doing in the game. And something that maybe is pleasing the fan base and pleasing the players. Misty hasn't been able to get an attack off here, which is really bad. The physical immunity of Captain America, wow. So Captain America's immunity and Caecilius' physical immunity was actually the reason why he pulled it off there in the end. Caecilius is actually a really strong tier 1 character, and I didn't even consider him when I was gauging that team. This fight is very hard for me because I don't have these kind of... I mean, I recently tier 2'd Caecilius, or I'd use mine. Robbie Reyes is good, but without max skill cooldown, his iframes are not going to be as good. I think this is a pretty easy team. I think I'm most scared of Beast and Rogue, but we'll have to just see how this pans out as far as my team is concerned. But yeah, because of the recent events with the BF sales and the Cyber Monday sales, I felt it would be nice to change it up a little bit and focus on something that I don't really talk too much about. And you know, I very rarely, Wiccan doing work, I very rarely talk about Battle World. I really wish they would do these types of Battle World more often, and something that I mentioned at the beginning of the video with tier 1 characters, it would be nice because they do the opposite in World Boss Ultimate, where they allow you, and Cinematic Battle, where they rank up your character to meet the minimum requirements, which would be, you know, tier 2. It would be nice if they ranked down our characters. I don't know how difficult that would be to implement into the game. We got this. Nice. I don't know how difficult it would be to implement into the game as far as the coding is concerned, Dr. Connors, but I feel as though if we had that opportunity, it would breathe a lot of new life into veteran accounts that frankly are probably getting tired of just using the same meta characters over and over again, and then looking at the rest of their roster that they didn't tier 2, they didn't invest much in, and just not really having a place for them, you know. At this point in the game, at this point in my career of Marvel Future Fight, this is going to be tough. I intentionally use certain characters to build or to put kind of artificial difficulty and obstacles in my way. I use Misty Knight, I use Karnak, I use these underpowered heroes to entertain myself and to challenge myself, but it's purely something that I'm doing. The game very rarely is encouraging me to do that, and so I really like the fact that this Battle World is essentially encouraging veterans to do that. Look at their more underused characters, look at the kind of dust gathering shelf dwellers and take them out of their, you know, hermetically sealed packages and play with them a little bit. We got punished a lot by Destroyer, which I haven't seen a tier 1 Destroyer with no uniform in probably about a year. Scourge tier 1 shouldn't be much of a threat, but my Lizard is really not doing too well. Wow, I'm actually going to die here. Wow, tier 1 Scourge is actually destroying me. I didn't even get any attacks in. The other thing I want... Yeah, that was a disaster. The other thing I wanted to mention specifically about Battle World, and it's something that you just witnessed there, and it's something that I also witness a lot when I play with Jean Grey in Battle World, is the fact that there is no cooldown, or there's not enough protection on characters that are jumping into the fight when other characters die. So when a character dies in Battle World, the next character spawns where they died. And that would be fine if you had a 5-second invincibility window where you couldn't get stunned, you couldn't get crowd controlled, you couldn't take damage. But for whatever reason, it appears that the cooldown for this is either way too short or it's not being implemented properly, because if Wiccan dies here, the next character is going to still get stuck in Storm's attack, despite the fact that they summoned in with an invincibility bubble. And you can see here, this Iron Fist immediately took damage from my 5th skill and the AoE effect just after spawning, and it really doesn't make sense, and it can create some really disappointing Battle World situations where you essentially watch your team get wiped off the map in literally a matter of seconds, and all you hear is the sound of the next character spawning, that kind of loud sound, and it just happens 4 times, and then you see the defeat screen, or it happens 4 times and you see the victory screen in the case of some of my fights with Jean Grey. Whoa. this should be interesting. I'm probably going to get spanked by this guy, so I'm not going to do that. Singularity used to be a monster in 3-star Battle World. This one also looks pretty tough. He's mirroring my idea with Songbird, but he's also got Captain America for the defense. Wiccan, the same. The worst teams, or the most difficult teams, are the ones with the paywall characters, as I've mentioned before. And I've spoken to some people who are near the top of the Battle World rankings, and those are the characters that they're using. Wow, free to play, sure. Because they just couldn't tier 2 them yet. So it's it benefits them in kind of a strange way, which I think is interesting, and I like this. And I really wish the Netmarble would do more of this. And if it isn't too difficult, perhaps in the future down the line, they can introduce a game mode where you can downgrade your characters to 4 stars or to tier 1, and you can play again with them to kind of rediscover what was interesting about them before you got them to tier 2, and see if they're as powerful as you thought they were, or less or more powerful. You know, certain characters are actually very strong at tier 1, but because we get them to tier 2 so quickly, we kind of look that over, or we forget about it. I'm getting destroyed by Storm right now. But I think it would really help veterans appreciate their roster, as they do with Shadowland right now. Yeah, Wiccan has survived this whole time, which I'm impressed by. You know who hasn't really done much work the whole time? Elektra. I'm a little bit disappointed. I was going to tier 2 her. I actually don't think she's going to be able to get a kill here on anyone, which is pretty sad. I think if she could have killed Ancient One, she could have killed Beast, but she couldn't, so we didn't end up getting any wins. I think I'm going to try to play manually for the next 5 and see how I do. My rank right now is pretty bad. I'm rank 33,398, so I'm in the 33rd percentile, which puts me 2 5-stars. I'm really hoping to push into the 4 5-stars. But let me know how you like this Battle World, if you've been able to compete in it as a new player, because you're perfect for it if you're a new player with just a bunch of tier 1 characters like Sharon Rogers and a lot of the meta characters. You have some of those first paywalls as part of the free-to-play startup with the 3 days of the bio sub. Hit me up with your team, your setup of 5, and what you think is the strongest setup of 5 characters. The player or the person in the comments below who has the best team, the strongest team of 5, judging by how many likes it has, how many replies it has, and if I think it's the best, will get a secret prize. So I look forward to your comments below. Subscribe if you're having a good time. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.